Trump originally said that fixing it would cost under $2 million. That cost has climbed above $15 million, and of course, the pool is still closed. So what went wrong? How are you going to fix it? How much is it going to cost?
Well, good morning, George. First of all, let's put this all in context. Under President Trump's leadership, Washington, D.C., we fixed 48 monuments, 22 fountains that hadn't had water going for years. We eliminated over 1,000 graffiti sites. All of these things have been going on across the city. And you know, everybody that lives in Washington, D.C. says the place has never looked better. And, of course, you look at the crime stats, the city has never been safer. And so when we look in context, President Trump set out to make D.C. safe and beautiful. He's done that. The reflecting pool was part of the original design of the Lincoln Memorial. It's part of that memorial. It is part of one of the monuments that is important to us as a country. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's been attempted to be fixed in the past, widely reported by the New York Times, Washington Post, and others that this pool was closed for 2 years between 2010 and 2012. $34 million was spent. It's a challenging thing. This has got 2.5 miles of expansion joints. It is 8-acre pond. It has been a challenge, but now with the industrial liner, it's not paint. With the industrial liner that's gone in, the reflecting pool is not leaking. New technology that hasn't existed before, nano bubblers taking care of the algae. The water is now clear. The reason why the fences were up the last week was to get ready for the world's largest fireworks show. On either side of the reflecting pool is where the fireworks are stationed. And so this is and anybody that's been there, some of the greatest photographs ever taken in recent weeks of both the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial, reflecting our history, our incredible history of those two presidents, one that helped found the country and the other that helped save the Union back and forth. So the reflecting pool has been a big success, and we've got a very the 340 million people in this country that are celebrating 250. We did have a few vandals, but all that's going to be repairable, and that'll all be fixed in the coming weeks as we go forward.
Well, you say it's been a success, but the pool is going to be drained this week, isn't it?
We don't know if we need to drain the whole thing or not because, you know, the cutting happened on the edge, and, of course, it slopes from the edge. It's not a flat-bottom pool.
What's up, family? So look at this picture right here. A $14 million pool, drained green, torn all the way up, sitting close on the country's 250th birthday. And before you scroll past this thinking it's just another story about paint peeling off a floor, let me stop you right there because they want you to believe this is about paint, and it's not. Here's the number that they're throwing around, and this whole fix started under $2 million. Now it's climbed past $15 million, and the pool is still closed. That's the surface. That's what everybody's arguing about online right now. But from my perspective, this isn't really about a pool at all. This is about whether the law means the same thing for everybody in this country or if it changes depending on who broke it. So we're going to walk through the clip. We're going to walk through the excuses. We're going to walk through the arrests, and I give you my read on it. So before we get into that, because I just showed you this first clip, and before you can understand why people are yelling about a reflecting pool, you got to know the history, because this didn't start last week. This pool has been leaking 45,000 gallons of water a day for years. It got ignored under past renovations too, and this isn't the first time somebody tried to fix it either. Back in 2010, they closed it down for 2 full years, spent $34 million trying to patch it up, and nobody said a word. No outrage, no cable news segments, nothing. It's like it's never happened. So this time around, here's what actually got done. 48 monuments fixed up, 22 fountains turned back on that hadn't run water in years, over 1,000 spots of graffiti cleaned up off of public property, and for the reflecting pool specifically, they put in a brand new industrial liner. And I want you to hear that part clearly because it keeps getting reported wrong. It was not paint. Think about it in simple terms. This is the same kind of spray liner ranchers and farmers put in the bed of a pickup truck. You've seen it, that thick rubber coating that keeps your truck bed from scratching up. That liner does not just peel off on its own. It's built to take a beating and it's built to last. But here's what showed up on that pool floor: a gash 300 to 350 feet long, cut straight into the bottom. Box cutters were involved, and because of that, 7 arrests got made. 7. And that's not a guess, that's not a rumor, that's what happened. Now, here's where the story turns into something else entirely, because instead of the conversation being about who did this and why, you got reporters, grown professional reporters, pushing back hard on whether the vandalism even happened at all. Not asking who's responsible and not asking why, asking if it happened in the first place after 7 people already got arrested for it. And that's where I had to pause and ask myself a real question. Why would grown reporters fight this hard this many times to disprove something that has 7 arrests attached to it? That's not normal skepticism. That's something else. And we're about to get into exactly what that something else is.
That still has pockets, but the fact that they were here in Washington on such an important day, I do want to move on.
But I do think, again, I mean, there are people that are saying death to Israel and death to America. I mean, this is part of free speech in America. They can say it, we can object to it, but it is something that comes with free speech in America.
I want to ask you about the reflecting pool because we spoke about a month ago, and the $16 million no-bid contract to renovate the reflecting pool was something you called fantastic, and you certainly defended the expediting contract in order to try to get it fixed in time for July 4th. Now, of course, chunks of paint are peeling off the floor. The algae has returned. What went wrong?
Well, the algae is all gone. I mean, that was a momentary thing as it was being refilled. There was algae in the pipes, but the new technology, the nano bubblers that have been installed, if you go down there today and look at it, it is completely clean and clear. And so for the first time, there's actual a solution that involves making sure that we've got an algae-free pond. It keeps being reported that this was paint. It was not paint. This was an industrial liner that was put into the pool for the very first time. Multiple layers, fixing 2.5 miles of expansion.
But it peeled off. Why? Why did that happen? Do you know?
It didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument. The reflecting pool is not just a pool on the mall. It is part of the Lincoln Memorial. And if anybody says that they're going to go and vandalize that, it's no different than if someone was throwing paint
and you're
on Lincoln
100%
itself.
sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, we've got all the photographs we can see. I mean, there's no possible way.
You have photographs of a person or people cutting a 300 or 350 foot gash in the bottom of the reflecting pool?
Dana, I'm not sure why you and others in the media think that you want to keep trying to question whether or not this is an industrial liner. Every farmer and rancher in America that's had their pickup liner lined by this sprayed on liner knows that you literally it would never just like peel off or fall off. This is like a strong material.
Yeah.
And it's the size of 8 football fields. And the only way you can end up with actual slices in one spot and not the other is that someone physically cut it. And so but the pool itself, it's not leaking. It was leaking 45,000 gallons a day. It's finally been fixed by President Trump. And the American flag blue is working perfectly. And again, it's beyond me why. I mean, the real scandal is about the fact that the state of our capital was in such total disrepair that some people, no one was reporting about. No one was reporting about the pro-Hamas graffiti on the.
Mr. Secretary, you and I talked about this last month.
Yeah, and we're still talking about it.
Well, because it was July 4th and the reflecting pool was closed.
It was closed because it's surrounded by fireworks. It's closed every year on the 4th of July.
But it was closed prior to that in order to fix the reflecting pool.
But it was closed because the largest fireworks display in the country we talked about was set up, and it lines either side of the reflecting pool. You can't have people around fireworks when they're being set up. Now that the fireworks will come down, the fence will come down. The fence was there because of the fireworks.
Copy that. I just want to ask you about one other potential issue here. In May, the president's armored motorcade of SUVs, which can weigh up to 20,000 pounds, drove across that new coating of the reflecting pool's floor. Could that have damaged it?
No, I was with him when we came that night. He didn't take the beast. We were driving in a Cadillac Escalade. It is one of the presidential fleet of cars, but substantially lighter than what you're talking about. And at the time that we were there, they were still putting down the whole base level of this industrial rubber layer was not yet completed. And so there was no damage that night whatsoever. That was one of the questions we asked before we even brought the presidential motorcade there, but not a chance.
How much is it going to cost to fix? And are you going to use the same company that you did in the no bid contract, or will you open it up to new bids?
We'll use the same company because they did a fantastic job. I mean, even with this damage of the gash that we're talking about, you're talking about, again, this is the size of 8 football fields. It is 8 acres, and we're talking about like 0.001%. Thankfully, the vandalism was small. It was bad. I mean, it could be cost tens of thousands of dollars to repair. So then it could fall into a felony thing, just like damaging any other government property could. But it is this is the job that was done to fix the reflecting pool was done extremely well. And hopefully we can move on to this and just talk about, how we can continue to do things like take care of this is a deferred maintenance problem. We have deferred maintenance problems across our parks. President Trump is ready to sign the Great American Outdoors Act, which would bring the dollars to help fix all of our parks, not just ones like the National Mall, which is free, but help bring that across the country.
Can I just ask you about the vandalism? There is an Olympian, David Hearn, who was indicted for vandalism. The maximum sentence is 10 years in prison. He says he didn't do anything other than reach into the reflecting pool and pull out and look at a piece of the liner that had already been cut. Do you really think he should face a 10-year prison sentence for doing this? This is somebody who competed for America and did extremely well there, and is saying he didn't do anything wrong?
You can be a former governor, you can be a former this, you can be a former that, but just because you were a former something doesn't exclude you from the law today.
Yeah, that's fair. But he says he didn't do anything to actually hurt it other than pick it up because it was already peeling.
Well, he can say what he wants to say. I wasn't there. I was not an eyewitness. I mean, the courts will decide. But I think the law stands. That is the law that exists, and it should be, again, if people are, damaging federal government property, if people are defaming our monuments, they should face the consequences of that. So the courts will decide.
Secretary Burgum, happy 250. Thank you so much for everything, and appreciate you coming in.
Well, and I appreciate I would love to come on sometime and actually talk about the great things going on in America, as opposed to this myopic focus on a single one. We restored 48 monuments, 22 fountains, eliminated 1,000 graffiti sites. The Capitol's looking better than ever, and I can't understand why people want to keep talking about beautiful reflecting pool.
I take your point, and I think the answer is because the president sets the tone, and he talks about it nonstop, because he was so proud of it, which is why we're following up on what you did to try to fix it.
And he should be proud of it, because no one has fixed up our Capitol more than President Trump has during the time he's been here. He's shown the pride that he has in America. He's shown that as a country we can stand and think about our future. This is the kickoff of our 250th year. President Trump, in those 3 speeches that I saw him give the last few days, he was incredible respect for the past, gratitude for the present and all the people that have great, including our military, our law enforcement. And then he gave us in all 3 speeches in the last 4 days, inspiration for the future. That's something that we should focus on, because the vast majority of Americans, care deeply about this country. They care about their communities. They care about their families. And that is absolutely something we celebrate. We are the freest, strongest country in the world. We should be celebrating that versus focusing myopically on the few bad actors that may want to spoil.
So there you have it, right? So when you look at it, because it's right there in the exchange, plain as day, you had an official sit there and say it's straight, no hedging, no dancing around it. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There were 7 arrests. And that's not his opinion, family. That's the report. And you would think that settles it, right? Somebody in charge tells you flat out, this happened, here's the proof. But the reporter kept going, kept pushing, kept asking, are you sure? Are you sure this will happen? Even after being told the photo exists, or photos, even after being told the arrest already happened. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because that's not a reporter looking for truth. That's a reporter looking for a different answer than the one they already got. Now, here's where it starts to matter, because this isn't the first time we've seen this exact move. Remember when those Teslas were getting firebombed over the Doge cuts, cars burning in driveways, dealership lots getting hit, real property damage, real danger to people? And the same media that's out here demanding extra proof for a pool gash, they went quiet, real quiet, didn't push, didn't dig, didn't ask the hard follow-up questions. And it just kind of got mentioned and moved past. And then you got the Capitol lawn situation where somebody left the message 8647 out there. And if you don't know what that number's about, look it up. But I'll just say this, same energy, Same type of statement, same crowd behind it. And again, barely a mention. No cameras chasing that story for a week straight. So when I lay all that side by side, family, I'm not making something up out of thin air. This is not a right wing theory I cooked up to make a point. This is a pattern you can actually track one instance after another from the same political lane. And the media response is the same every single time. Quiet when it's them, loud when they can question it happen at all. Now, to be fair, and I mean this, people got every right to be upset about what's going on in this country. People got a right to protest. People got a right to march, hold up a sign, get in front of a camera, and say what's on their mind. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm not putting that in the same category. But here's where it doesn't add up for a lot of people. There's a difference between holding a sign on the sidewalk and taking a box cutter to a national monument that belongs to every single one of us. One is speech, the other is a crime. And you don't get to blur that line just because you agree with the message behind it. So here's my read on the whole thing. The media isn't questioning these facts because the facts are unclear. The facts are about as clear as they get. 7 arrests, box cutters are gassed in the pool, and they're questioning it because the facts don't fit the story they wanted to tell going into it. Now, let's talk about the Olympian that they mentioned because this is where it gets real personal for people. This man's facing an indictment up to 10 years, and his defense is that he only touched a piece of the liner that was already loose. He didn't cut it, he says. Just picked it up. And look, I get why people want to feel for him. He competed for this country. He got a name, he got a story, but family, just using common sense here for a second. Everybody facing charges says they didn't do it. That's not new. That's not some special defense. Only he came up with. You ever met anybody in trouble who say, "Yeah, I did it, lock me up"? No. So everybody's innocent until the evidence says otherwise. Saying I didn't do it isn't proof of anything. It's just what people say. And here's how this actually works in plain English, because a lot of people don't know this part. An indictment doesn't just happen because somebody's mad at you. A grand jury already sat down, already looked at the evidence, and already said there's enough here to take this to trial. That's a whole separate group of people, not politicians, not media, looking at the facts and saying this needs to be answered for in court. So drive this home with me. You break it, you face it. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you got a medal, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you stand on. That's how it's supposed to work in a country, and that's how it's supposed to work in a country built on the idea that law applies the same to everybody. And here's a double standard right out in the open. If a regular person, you or me, went and did this to a neighbor's fence or a neighbor's pool, we'll already be in cuffs. No debate. No reporter showing up asking, "Are you sure this happened?" No sympathetic profile piece. Straight to processing. So ask yourself the question and really sit in it. Why does cutting into a national monument get treated like it's some form of protest, some form of speech, when breaking a regular window down the street get treated like a straight up crime? It's the same action, it's just a different target and a different narrative attached to it. And that's the real point underneath all of this. The law only works and it only means anything if it applies the same to everybody. The second people start believing it bends, depending on who broke it, that's the second people stop trusting the whole system. So step back with me for a second, because all of this, every bit of it, isn't really about a pool. It never was. It was about whether accountability still means something in this country or if it's turned into a word we just throw around depending on who's standing in front of the camera. And here's a quick truth that shouldn't even need saying. A beautiful, safe capital is something everybody should want. Doesn't matter if you're on the left, the right, or you don't claim a side at all. Nobody should be rooting for the nation's front porch to look torn up and neglected. And that's not a partisan opinion. That's just common sense. And I want to leave you with something, and I want to say it plain. There's a scripture that fits this whole situation almost too well. What Galatians chapter 6, verse 7 says, "Whatever a man sows, that he will also reap." So in plain English, that means whatever you put out, you get back. Whatever action you take, a bill comes with it eventually. And you don't get to cut a hole into something, walk away, and expect nothing to follow you home. And look, I know not everybody watching this claims to be spiritual, and that's fine. You don't have to believe in scripture to understand the wisdom sitting inside it. Because here's the life lesson underneath all of it, spiritual or not. The moment you stop being responsible for what you break, you stop being trusted with anything, not just monuments, not just property, relationships, jobs, opportunities. All of it works the same way. Trust gets built on people owning what they touch, and it falls apart the second people start making excuses instead. So that's the real lesson sitting inside a $15 million reflecting pool, not left or right, just true. So let me know what you think about all this. Drop it in the comments. Tell me if you think I'm being too hard on this, or if you think this is exactly the double standard it looks like. And I'll read through the comments, and I want to hear where you land on it. Hit the like button, share this video with somebody who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss the next one. Spread that peace, love, and positivity, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.